Hello, everyone, and welcome back to RU101 Live with me and Justin from Redis. Thanks for joining us again today. My name's Suze Shardlow. I'm the Developer Community Manager here at Redis, and we've been doing this for a few weeks now. Basically, I'm learning RU101, which is one of our Redis University courses, in public. So if you go onto our YouTube channel, you'll be able to check out all the recordings from the past 3 or 4 weeks. And yeah, hopefully it will help you get to grips with the content. It's definitely not a substitute for taking the course, but it is meant to be supplementary. And Justin is such a great teacher. There's some concepts I definitely did not get the first time round, but chatting them through with him has really helped. So yeah. Hey, Justin, how are you today?
Good. I'm celebrating Halloween a little early. If you can't tell my background, it's a little spooky, but I can still see there's no monsters in the background there. Oh.
Yeah, it's behind you.
Let me know.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know if I've run away screaming because there's a massive spider in the background. Then you'll know. Like, just run with me. But yeah, I just want to remind everybody as well, whether you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, you're very welcome to join us on Discord. We'll put the link up for you. And yeah, so today we're going to be covering storing simple objects, transactions, and pub sub. And all of these terms were quite strange to me before I did the course material this week, but everything became clear. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to Justin now, who's going to talk to us about some of these things.
Cool. Yeah, so we're going to do a little bit of a review with hashes. Hashes allow us to store field value pairs, multiple field value pairs, all within one key. So kind of goes all the way back to week 0 when I was giving a little bit of a preview of data types. They're similar to JavaScript object literals or Python dictionaries, where you have just field value pairs that are grouped together in a logical sense. And it's how we store things. So if you have like a piece of identification with the local government or a driver's license, it all contains facts and figures, integers and strings that are all relative to you. So that it's kind of an example of like, kind of an object you hold with you. But today it was kind of a fun example in that I gathered a lot of different pets that all of our Redis team has. So I have too many. Since the pandemic started, I've gained 2 cats and 4 chickens. And they're all pets. They're all sweet little animals. So I entered them into the database, and then like the video team has, I think, two pets among all 3, and then our docs team just has all the pets, which is pretty great.
Yeah, there's a lot of pet legs in that team.
Yeah, so I was able to add a lot into our shared Redis Insight. So we're just to bring up to speed, we're both using Redis Insight. Suze signed up for a cloud instance, a free cloud instance on Redis Cloud. She sent me the information. I also logged in from my Redis Insight, which allows me to operate on that database as well as Suze. So we can both kind of like play with it and look at it and interact with the databases, which is really cool. So without further ado, allow me to set up my screen, and I can show you a little bit. And I'll show you a little bit, and then I'm going to have you jump on Redis Insight as well, just to interact with it. Okay. Can you see this okay?
Yep.
How's my text?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So first I'm going to use the keys command to look at specifically all of my pet objects that I created. So I'm going to first show you the structure. So I called keys, which returns keys, and then followed by a pattern. So user : star says, give me all the keys that start with user : And I figured since I use the kind of drill down method of our keys, it's going to start with user, then the name of the owner, and then the pet, and then the name of the pet. So just the first key, we see user, Simon, pet, Spot. So Simon has a pet named Spot. User, Justin, pet, Basil. So Justin has a pet named Basil, and so forth. So you can see all the way going down. And if we have spaces, like if you see number 8, Lance has a pet named Aria.Ravenpaw, a very proper cat. So we just replace the spaces with underscores, just so it just is easier to store within our key. So let's first get our information out of a specific key, and then let's set. Those are very, very important things to do with anything. So I'm going to do get all first. Now that command will return all the fields, all the field value pairs within a key. So I'll do get all user Steve pet honey. So Steve has a pet named Honey. Okay, so here are field value pairs for that key. So we have name, Honey, age 5, weight 71. And the weight, the unit of measurement for weight is going to be pounds in this instance. Number of legs 4, good. Species dog, breed greyhound, and favorite toy is a cucumber squeaker. So all of our pets have a favorite toy of some sort. And there's also images that we actually have, but I wasn't able to store all the images, but I'll show you later how to actually store images. So I received all this information, and that's really great. And there's a total of 14 strings returned to me. HGetAll is actually considered a dangerous command. And we say dangerous because it could take a lot of time to return a lot of information. And while it's returning that information, it could be blocking the Redis instance from being accessed by other people. So, this is a very, very small object. But imagine if we were returning like 30,000 field value pairs, 50,000. That would actually take a considerable amount of time. And when I'm saying considerable amount of time, it could take like, up to a second, which is 50 years to Redis. It's a very long time. So we need to be cognizant of what we are requesting from Redis. Do I really need to have all of this information, or can I just get away with like knowing 2 or 3 pieces of information specifically? If I just want to know the name, I don't need to call HGetAll. To get just the name, I would use HGet user Steve pet honey name. And if I wanted to get just the breed, I pressed up to bring the command again. I would use hget user Steve pet honey breed, and so it just give me that single string back. And this is much, much better than getting the entire object back. Now we also have a command called hscan, and this is part of the scan family of commands within Redis. Scan will iterate over a list or keys, or in general, or a hash, and it will return a portion of the entire object. So if you're looking like through a list for a specific item or string or element, you'll want to use scan, because that will, instead of returning you the entire list, it'll send you a portion. And I'll do hscan, which is a hash scan, and then I'll use user Steve, let's use this still, pet honey, and the cursor is like where you want to start. Well, I want to start at the beginning, so I enter 0. And it's still going to return me everything, because scan is actually kind of used for the big keys, the keys that store a lot of information. I'm talking about up to like thousands. That's where it actually really starts to come in. If I'm just using a small key like this, it's like, I got this. I can go through this without a problem. But when you go into larger lists or data structures that require you to iterate it through a couple different times, this will actually, demonstrate better. And within the video, Alvin goes over scan, of course, and he does show the iterators. And you can see in my return, the 0. That 0 means that there's nothing left. There's nothing else left to scan through. So I don't actually have an example that's better than Alvin's because I can't manually enter thousands of data. But yeah, know that scan exists, and scan, hscan and hget are preferable to hget all if you have the larger key sizes. But for this one, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, so we've put the link to those commands in the chat, but also,
Fantastic.
Justin, you've made a nice little gist as well to accompany this week's class, haven't you? So
Yes.
folks can go and have a look at the gist as well. And the gist has got links to each of those individual commands with some examples in too.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm going to be working off today. So a lot of the code examples will be up there. The actual pet keys are not stored in there, so I encourage you to create your own pet keys along with us. And you can see like the information that we actually have with ours. So if you want to enter ours, you can. But this is more of like a choose your own adventure. Go ahead and add. You can use pets. You can use siblings. You can use cousins. You can use the next door neighbor. Whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Okay, so one more thing with a hash. These are all the commands that will just get you up and running. So we can update information with hset. So let me see here. Let's see, hset user. First, let's look at one of my pets. So let's look at user Justin pet bird. Let's look at all the content. So I have a cat named Bird, and she actually is growing quite a bit. So let's increase her weight by 1. So to do that, to add 1, I would use the command H.
It's Guy's favorite command, isn't it?
Yeah, hinkerby or H increby or H increment by. H increby increments the integer value of a hash. So it has to be operated on a field that stores an integer. So hinkerby or hinkerby, user : pet : bird. And then I'm going to take weight, and I want to then follow up with the value that I want to add to the current weight. So Bird's weight is 9. She just gained 0.5 pounds. We just switched to a really nice pet food. I'll press enter. Nope. Value is not an integer or out of range. Okay, I think it can't be 0.5. Okay, she really gained a lot of weight with a pound, which is quite a bit for a cat. And there we go. So now the integer return is 10. So let me just get that to verify. User Justin pet bird weight, and there we go, 10. So let's say that she decided she didn't like the food, and she's not eating as much as she should. So she actually lost weight. So H increby, you can increment with a negative number. So that's actually going to decrement the value by an integer. So let's actually -2. Just she's fine, but I just want to demonstrate what happens. So we'll do that, and now you'll see integer 8. That means that the new updated value of weight is going to be 8. And I'll just press up to get the weight again. So hget, the key in weight, and there we go. The value is 8. So with hashes, for the most part, your main functions that you're going to be using, or main commands, are hget, hget all if you know it's safe to do so, hscan if you want to iterate through a larger hash, and H increby, which can increase or decrease an integer value. And there's other fun stuff you can do with a hash too. So if you look way back into a Redis live that I did with Guy, I actually did a deep dive of hashes and how we can sort of match and search almost like Redis search within hashes, which you can do it as an independent exercise. Yeah, so that's hashes in general. Suze, did I miss anything that you want me to cover, or how do you feel about that?
Good, because I believe this was covered a little bit earlier in the course too. So it was a nice, gentle intro to the week to see something that was quite familiar.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So yeah, and if anybody has any questions while we're live, please don't hesitate to ask in Discord or Twitch. We are more than happy to answer. So now I have a bit of a bonus. I remember saying a long time ago, back in week 0, week 1, that we can store binary safe values, or we can store strings, but we can store so much more than strings. So we have all these awesome pets within our database, but we don't have any pictures, which is a shame because pets are cute no matter what, right? So keeping with the Halloween theme.
Might be a caveat in there, yeah.
So we are going to play a little bit with storing an image into a Redis instance. Now, this is one way of doing it. The cool thing about storing binary safe values is that you can store any kind of string, really, within 512 megabytes within Redis. So we're going to encode specifically one solution that I found very quickly is to encode an image in the base64, which gives you a big, beautiful, stringy mess of characters. You put that into your Redis database field, we'll call it image, stores that as a string, and you can pull that down on any other time, decode it, and you have an image. Now, this may or may not be best practices, but I mean, it's kind of fun. I just wanted to demonstrate that because I did say, we can store images, we can store large blobs. So this is going to actually be it. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I will now share this screen, which is quite big. This is set up for another activity that we'll be doing later on, but make sure, there we go. So that looks big enough, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Looks good.
And then let me grab my little cheat sheet here. Okay, so I'm actually going to be getting out of the Redis CLI. So let me show you where I'm at right now. I was in a Redis command line, a local one. So you can actually encode and decode base64 files on your Redis Insight instance, but this is a local Redis command line. I exited out of my Redis command line, and now I'm in the normal command line. And I'm going to go to where my image is, and what's the name of the image here? Actually, I'll keep it a secret for you. So you can call command line, call the command line Redis CLI, and you can send messages. So Redis CLI ping, and it'll return Pong, but it'll still keep me out of the Redis command line. This is executing commands upon Redis with the command line, but not in interactive mode. This is great if you want to send it files or receive output from Redis and turn it into a file. So this is actually really, really useful. So in our case, I'm going to take an image and I'm going to encode it into base64, and then I'm going to store it into Simon's pet spots key. So let's do Redis CLI -x, and then here's going to be my command to store the image. It's going to be hset. You know about hset, user Simon pet spot. And then I'm going to take the field image, and then this character here means I'm going to pipe into that or dump into that a base64 encoded of Spot the Piranha, September 89. No such file or directory, base64. Uh-oh. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I have an encoded version. Uh-oh. How do I? Let's see here. Base 64. This is the problem of doing things live. Oof, there we go. Okay. So this is what the base 64 encoded version of Spot looks like. Now let me actually pipe that out to base 64 Spot.
I think if you had to pick your pet out of an identity parade with that, you wouldn't be able to, would you?
Yeah. So let me make sure this looks right. Okay, cool. So I converted it to just a file called base64 Spot. It didn't want to call base64 on Spot, the Piranha, while I was entering into Redis. So my bad. So Redis CLI hset user Simon pet Spot image, and I'm just going to enter base 64 Spot. And again, base 64 Spot is just a text file containing all of that information. Okay, and it said integer 1. Cool. So that means I actually stored in my Redis CLI that base 64. And to just prove it, let's go into the Redis command line. Let's go hget user Simon pet Spot image, and we should get an absolute wall of text. Yes. Okay, there we go. Never thought I'd be so happy to see that. So I put it into my Redis key, and it's now just sitting in Redis, which is great. But it's not any use unless I actually get it out. So I can still receive it by calling Redis CLI from the command line and hget user Simon pet Spot, and then the image. So this is actually going to return to me that base 64 information. And I want to actually use this new character, the greater than, to store that output into my spot image dot base 64. And this is just me creating a file of that text. Okay, now let me just cat this. It'll show me. All right, I'm still seeing my wall of text. And then I'm going to base 64. This is a command built into Mac OS X. This just allows me to encode and decode images. It is different in different operating systems. So with Linux and Windows, your results will vary. But you should not have too many problems encoding and decoding in base 64. So I'm going to use the -d flag to say I want to decode it. So I'm going to take spot underscore image base 64, and I want to decode that image onto my new spot image.jpg. Okay, so I took that base 64, I decoded it into an image, and then I created a new image called new spot image.jpg. So let's give that a try. Let's open new spot image.jpg. And there we go.
Yay!
Everybody see that? Yeah, there he is, Spot. And if you saw us looking at the key earlier, his favorite toy is the flower pot. That's adorable.
And it's called Spot the Piranha because he had a little spot on his markings, but also because he was camouflaged in the scenery. As you can probably tell, you had to actually spot the piranha. It was a bit of a game.
That's adorable. See, yeah, all pets are cuddly.
So, well, the Spot was actually known to draw blood. So, but yeah, apart from that, quite cuddly.
So let me just clean up my my little play area here real quick. But yeah, so that's like kind of an example of how you can do a little bit of extra things, like storing images. It really wasn't that hard. I did it from the command line, which was a little strange and awkward. But honestly, if you do that programmatically with a client, it really shouldn't be that much of a problem. A lot of people will upload images, I know, like with like web apps up to like a bucket instance or something like that. But with this, I just want to show you that you can store PDFs, images, things like that. So it should get you just enough knowledge to make you dangerous. So that was hashes. That was me storing an image in a hash. Now let's sort of change gears. So transactions. In your readings and in the video watching with an RU101, what did you get out of that as far as what transactions are?
Being able to set some commands and kind of put them all in a batch to execute all at once is one thing I remember.
Yeah.
So instead of maybe setting, you could decide you're going to set a load of things at once. But then you have the added thing of what happens if something changes in the meantime? How do we handle that? And things like that. So yeah, those are the main takeaways that I had from that piece.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, transactions, like you said, they happen, they batch things together. And sometimes you want to actually manipulate the data within Redis, where you don't want other people exactly manipulating it before or during or while you're changing data. And sometimes you want things to happen absolutely. Like if I want multiple things to happen, or if they can't all happen, I want them to happen not at all. And I'll just try at a different time. So imagine like a website where you're trading things. Stock markets, I'm sure, use some kind of, transactional behavior. But when you don't want the public, or when you don't want other people to have access to information that's not exactly correct while you're working with it, I'm being kind of vague because I have an example. But when you want things to happen absolutely sequentially, without anybody else being able to access things as a transaction. And that's pretty common. You'll want to actually ask yourself, should this be behind the transaction? Is there ever a moment where somebody could get data from Redis that will not absolutely represent the absolute truth while I'm working with it? Because, again, Redis is very fast, and a lot of clients can access Redis at the same time. So we have to be cognizant of that, of like other people are working maybe on the same data. So with transactions, there's a couple of different commands, and there's a basic structure that we want to follow to actually be safe with our data. So let me share my command line interface again. Let me clear this out. So let's say that we are going to be trading the toys of two of our Redis pets. Let's inspect two pets. So let's look at user Rachel.
I think it's ironic that you're using get all, because that is a dangerous command, and trying to switch the toys is also dangerous.
Yeah. This is a dangerous transaction. Yeah. We can use hget, which is very great. So let's look user Rachel pet, and then Sputnik is the name of that cat, I believe. And let's look up the favorite toy. Bill. Uh-oh. Let's see what they got. I have Sputnik in here. Oh, my state site is showing. I'm sorry. I used favorite toy without a U.
Oh, never mind. I'll forgive you.
Thank you.
Z, Z, favorite. I don't know. I've had so many issues with the language barrier in this course.
All right, so let's look at the favorite toy. It's cherry tomato. Ooh, hold on. Somebody's been using my data. Let me just fix this. I'm setting Sputnik's favorite toy to Moppy Ball.
Yeah.
That is Sputnik's favorite toy. And then let's set my pet chicken, user Justin pet Josie. Let's say set her favorite toy. Chickens have toys. And she absolutely loves cherry tomatoes.
Does she just play with them or does she eat them?
Kind of both. We have a cherry tomato plant right next to her coop, and she's always looking at it and yelling at me to grab her some. So I'll take some, put it in her coop, and she'll peck at it, she'll kick it, she'll throw it around, and then ultimately she'll eat it. But yeah, it's really adorable.
Playing with your food's fun though, isn't it?
Well, when you're the chicken, sure. Yeah. Simple pleasures. So okay, we have 2 pets. We have Sputnik the cat with a moppy ball, and we have Josie the chicken with a cherry tomato. Now, if we want to have them swap their toys, I think chickens still play with, cat toys. I haven't tried it yet. And cats might not like cherry tomatoes, but it'd be fun for them to sort of like check it out. To swap those, we would set on Sputnik the favorite toy to cherry tomato, and then vice versa with Josie the chicken. So I'm going to set user, Rachel, pet, Sputnik, favorite toy. And this will be Josie's toy, so cherry tomato.
Hold on.
Oh.
That is not American or English.
Canadian. So now we have Sputnik's tomato. Sputnik's favorite toy is a cherry tomato. But at the same time, what is Josie's, currently, what is Josie's favorite toy?
The same.
Yeah. So that's actually incorrect if we're swapping. So let me just check this out. So user Justin, Josie, cherry tomato. So at the current time, we have Sputnik and Josie both enjoying a cherry tomato. That's not correct. That's actually an opportunity for inaccurate data. If somebody was actually looking at a website displaying all the favorite, all the information about these pets. So I need to actually wrap this up in a transaction, which will do it all one after another in step lock, and it will not allow anything else in the entire Redis database to happen. So everything will stop, and these 2 switches, the tomato and the moppy ball, will happen in succession, in sequence. And this is a powerful command, but this is also a dangerous command, because if you have tons of commands all within a transaction, you're going to be stopping everybody's work, and you're going to be running all these commands. 2 commands is nothing. 2 commands is super, super, super fast to a Redis instance. But if you're doing, 500 or 1,000 commands, whoa, that's a lot. So once again, you need to think about what kind of a load you're going to be putting on Redis. Are you requesting too much information? Are you sending too much information on Redis and not allowing others to use the Redis as well? When I say others, I'm saying other clients. So let me see here. Let me set Moppy Ball back to Sputnik. So now we're back to normal. We're back to Josie having a cherry tomato and Sputnik having a Moppy Ball. So now let me use the command multi. Now multi is saying, hi, I'm going to create a transaction. So the following commands are going to be in a transaction. I use the command exec for execute to close off that transaction and execute all the commands within it. So I want to swap their toys. So now I'll call the command hset user Rachel pet Sputnik favorite toy cherry tomato. So this isn't actually going to execute as soon as I press enter. You'll see that it gave me a queued. That means that it's queued up. It says as soon as you execute this transaction, it's going to go through this queue of commands and it's going to actually run them. So I set the cherry tomato as the favorite toy for Sputnik. And I'm going to do for Josie, set, user, Justin, pet, Josie, favorite toy, Poppy Ball. So you'll see that they're both queued. So they're both set to execute as soon as I press, or as soon as I enter exec. So execute all commands issued after multi.
Do
So
they
now this
actually, sorry, Justin, to interrupt you. Do they actually set at exactly the same time, or do they go in the order?
They go in the order, yeah. So that's a good question. This doesn't have them all attack the Redis, at the exact same time. This just says, excuse me, everybody who's using Redis, I'm going to use just a small portion of time just to ensure that these happen exactly one after the other. So there won't be an instance of me setting Josie's favorite toy to Moppy Ball, and then somebody else setting Josie's, favorite toy to, a piece of celery or something like that.
Yeah, it sort of protects that data while you're doing something with it, but
exactly.
you do have the eventuality that for like a very short period of time, those values are not what you want them to be at the very end, because you're doing that set of steps, aren't you?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, this is really good for when you want to just have a bit of peace and quiet. You don't want anybody else kind of messing with your data. And there's one extra little thing that we'll check with watch. But for this, after we've had our multi command and then the commands we want to happen sequentially, I'll press exec and enter. Now it's given us, this is actually technically an array, but this is an array of the returns of both of our hset commands. So now let me hget. Let me now inspect the favorite toy of Josie, Poppy Ball, and then let me hget. Have it somewhere in here. Favorite toy of Sputnik, and it's a cherry tomato. And so basically, all this does is say, hey, I want just a little bit of time dedicated to me where I can do commands sequentially, because since I'm using Redis CLI and say, Suze and I are using the exact same database instance, Suze can be, manipulating all the data at the same time as I am. So we could have collisions like that. So multi and exec just makes a little window for you to just breathe and have your own little Redis instance or Redis session within a shared session.
So question.
Yeah.
You may or may not know the answer to this. So say, for example, you are doing something that, like, I don't know, maybe eBay or your favorite auction site. I mean, we're not affiliated with them, but, they're probably going to be doing something like this, aren't they? So only one person can bid at a time, and it's just, you need to be able to know who did it, like, for fairness and what the current situation is. So if you had a transaction set up and that was running, what happens then if somebody else wants to modify any of the data that you're dealing with at the same time? Do they get some sort of message saying that, sorry, you can't do that now because there's a transaction going on?
It's a good question. Fortunately, a lot of these things happen a lot faster than me typing. So there is also another command that watches what you're working on, watches the keys that you're working on, and if they're manipulated before you actually execute the command that you want on those keys, they'll say, hey, sorry, this key's been actually modified since you've last used it. So you can't actually, you lost basically because somebody else just entered before you did.
You snoozed.
Yeah. Basically, similar to actually, I have a real life story. It's kind of sad. Bjork, one of my favorite musicians. Bjork, her tickets went on sale in San Francisco, and I was about to like load up some really great seats. But I actually had to let Bird out because she was crying. She was in my room, so I had to open the door.
No.
Came back, the seats were gone.
Is this a true story?
It is. So
oh, no.
I didn't actually click on the seats to add to my cart. I was just still at the selection area, and so when I refreshed, I saw that they were gone. So if I did put them in my cart, they would have reserved them for me, which would have actually made it impossible for others to use. But because I didn't actually reserve them for me, I couldn't do it. So very sad. But I did find some great seats. I still found some good seats. But yeah, transactions are very powerful, and they get used a lot in different systems where there's like, inventory of like e-commerce, ticket selection, definitely, auctioning sites. I've been there where you try to enter an auction and enter a price, and the price is already way above what you entered. So so there is this command called wait, and wait just basically not wait, watch. It's another command. Watch will watch a key. It will watch a key, and if it gets altered in any kind of way, it will actually invalidate and abort your multi transaction if you're using that specific key. And there's a lot of information on this. I'm kind of like breezing over this. It's really important that you also watch Alan's video on transactions. Also, the documentation is fantastic on transactions because it's actually pretty big topic. I went through the comment, the documentation on Redis.io, and I pulled out some of the more interesting meaty bits. But it's really important to get down transactions, including watch. So let's actually add a new field. Let's say let's use our coworker Nava. Let's use her pet Gingit, and let's set times fed today. So we'll actually want to know how many times Gingit's fed today. Let's set that to 0. Oh, all right, it's not a hash. We're going to set a string. So we'll see why I'm doing this, but you'll see set user Nava pet Gingit times fed today at 0. So this is actually going to be storing as a string, not as part of the hash, but it's perfectly fine because we're doing this through a client. This will be done programmatically, so we don't have to worry about maintaining our mental, mapping of strings or hashes. We just want to know if we increase the time fed today for a cat, we'll just use the set, get, and anchor. So we're kind of switching gears out of the pet hash. We're just using a specific pet string. So, and I can still use, of course, transactions on strings. It doesn't always have to be a hash. So I set the times fed today. So Nava has not been fed yet. It's in the morning time. So I want to watch that value. So user Nava pet Gingit times fed today. Okay, so my instance right here is watching that key. If it gets changed, I won't be able to use that key within my transaction. So let me set up my transaction multi. Let's say I'm going to feed. I'm going to set the number of times fed today. I'm going to feed Gingit. So I'm going to anchor user Nava pet Gingit.
Stand by, you've got a little typo at the beginning in user.
Oh, good eye. User Nava pet Gingit times fed today. So while I'm in a transaction again, I can press enter, but it's actually not going to happen. It's still waiting. So I'm in my transaction, and then if I exit, exec, this is actually going to only run if nobody has manipulated the key user Nava pet Gingit times fed today, because it's watching it. So I'm going to press exec now. This is a happy path. It says okay, return my okay. So that means that nobody actually messed with it. So let's just verify. Yeah, we have a 1. So let's do that again, and let's show a path where the key times fed today actually does get altered. So let me call anchor, and let me set this up for exec. Now let me go into the browser. I think I should be able to do this. Scanning. Okay. So let me look up user Nava pet. This is gonna look for the specific key. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to add control wildcard. Now this is me kind of acting like I'm a different user. Oh, cancel. Oh no, I lost it all. 1 second. Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that was going to happen. Okay, user. Do I still have it? Okay, it's cute. Okay, fun. All right, so let me see if I can sort of. Okay, that was weird. It cleared out my my command line history. I didn't notice that. All right, well, I accidentally fed Nava the cat again. Let me bring this back down to 1. Sorry about that.
This is like a real life situation though, because cats do trick you into feeding them more than once, even when they've already been fed. So yeah,
this is the case. This is this is what we're trying to prevent.
Yes.
So actually, do you have your Redis Insight open by chance?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Let me do some overhead real quick. Okay, so I am watching. I'm going to do a multi-command. I'm going to anchor this when it's queued, and I'm all set to exec. Okay, so I'm all ready to run my multi-command and actually increment it by 1. It is currently 1. It should increment to 2. Now, if you could go into your Redis Insight, and if you could call anchor on user :nava :pet :gingit times fed today.
Yep.
And then let me know what the return value of that will be.
2.
Okay, cool. That's great. So that's what we want. So before this transaction has happened, but after I actually called the watch command, somebody has altered the key. So if somebody alters the key while it's being watched, and I use this key within my multi-command, I should have it aborted because it's saying, hey, what you expected that information to be is no longer what it is. So let's see here. And there we go. So not very exciting, but this is exactly what we want to see, nil. So nil means, nope, something bad happened. Like our data is no longer what we expected it to be. So this actually protects the accuracy of your transaction command when you're looking at specific keys. So if somebody actually said, oh, I fed the cat, and if I tried to feed the cat and it returns nil, that means, oh, somebody already fed the cat. So this actually keeps us honest with our data, and this doesn't create false duplicates or false, numerical, data. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the cat's only getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and no snacks.
Yes,
no
exactly.
Extra meals.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a pretty intense kind of a paradigm that does happen a lot in a lot of different, data structures and databases. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. What makes this a lot easier is just repetition, and practice, and doing it again. And then, of course, Alvin is so much more eloquent. I like to bash on, the command line and do some simple pet instances, but we can see some really good examples with Alvin. Also, we have, our documentation within Redis.io. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and I know some of the people that are taking these courses definitely have to deal with these fast-moving and fast-changing amounts of data. But equally, we've got folks taking the courses that are just learning, and they may not necessarily appreciate that this is what happens. So, when you're creating an app by yourself, say like you're at boot camp, you're the only one actually using that data, and you can quite happily do this privately. Nobody's going to mess with it. So yeah, I think it definitely gives you a good appreciation of what could happen, and helps you to realize, actually, if you are doing this in a commercial setting, then it makes sense that other people are trying to change the data at the same time, and there's going to be times where you don't want that to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I was teaching at a boot camp, people would make these really great applications, but they never actually thought about scaling the actual clients that would be using them. So we would, as part of an exercise, when everybody presented their applications to the entire class, say, it's great. Now let's all attack your website with fun actual usage. No like bad information or SQL injection or anything like that. Just let's all use it, maybe on the same kind of data, and see what would happen. And sure enough, sometimes you'd see these very silent bugs, these silent errors that don't break your code, but it's like, that information's not right. So yeah, transactions kind of prevents that, and it keeps the data honest. And if you only want one client working on it, or if you only want the data to be accessed once, or not have these like accidental off by one errors, it's definitely something to look at.
Yeah, when it's got to be correct. So like you're saying, e-commerce or just banking or anything like that, you can't afford to have a mistake.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, it's very important. Cool. So the last topic, and this one is kind of fun, and this is also another paradigm that is throughout a lot of application development and databases and networks, is basically pub sub. I love pubs. I love submarine sandwiches. When I first heard this, I'm like, a pub with a sub, I am on board. And then I read about it. I'm like, oh, okay, but it's still cool. Okay, I'll live with that. So pub stands for publish, and sub stands for subscribe. And basically, this is a way of one-way communication from a source to people that are reading the source. Now, this gives us the sort of goes along with the concept of producer and consumer. So one person or one client or source produces information, and then we'll have multiple consumers of that information. So that kind of applies to a lot of different things. One of the aspects is that the producer does not know about the consumer, but the consumer knows about the producer. So as an example, let's see here. I just watched Dune last night in the theaters, and I absolutely loved it. And I had such great things to say about it. And I took that information, I thought about the story, I compared it to the book and the older version, things like that. So let's imagine that Dune, or the author, was the producer. He produced that book. He wrote that book, and he gave it to the world to read. So he's a producer. He does not know specifically who's going to read his information. He does not know what people are going to make movies of his book, after he's gone. He doesn't know, what's going to happen. I'm a consumer, so I consume that book. I absolutely loved it. I talked with my friends about it. I professed my love for it on the social medias, things like that. I know about that book. I know about the producer, but it's like a sort of like a one-way thing. I'm consuming all of that information. He's producing it, but he doesn't know about me because I'm just a little guy. I'm just a fan. So we have many, many consumers of that one item, the Dune. And that's kind of the producer-consumer paradigm, where I will now consume anything that comes out. And there's a lot of sequels, things like that. A movie poster, the mug, the T-shirt. I will consume all of that. They're not necessarily going to know who's going to buy all their stuff, but I'm going to buy it because I'm now a big fan. And that's kind of the pattern that Redis has with pub sub. Redis can publish a message to a channel, and there are many consumers that can subscribe to that channel and consume that message. Similar to like cable television, nobody's going to know specifically who's going to watch a TV show or a news item on their daily news, but they'll have multiple consumers that are subscribing to that channel to read that information.
Can we take the analogy of June a little bit further and say, okay, so he made a book, and you may choose to go watch the film or buy the book, but you may not choose to get the T-shirt. Other folks may choose to get the T-shirt and watch the film, but they don't like reading, so they're not going to get the book. So you can choose the pieces that you want as well. With the TV channels, I'm kind of thinking in the internet age, actually, they do know exactly who you are and what you're watching, don't they?
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a really, really important point. Like, say this is actually factual. I really love the soundtracks of music. So when I saw Dune and I saw Hans Zimmer created the soundtrack, I'm like, this is amazing. This is so great. I was obsessed with the sound design. And maybe you're more interested in the cinematography. So you were watching all of the lighting, all of like the smoke and the beautiful, views and sets that they were creating. So we were both consuming kind of different parts of the same message for different reasons. And we'll both subscribe to Dune, but yeah, we'll have different things that we're really looking for and parse out. And that's a very great point. So as an example for Redis, for PubSub, we're going to be stepping away from pets. Although I would love to subscribe to a live feed of everybody's pets. So let's imagine with our PubSub that we're in an airport and we're running an airport. Oh, good luck to them. And we have a jet arriving, and as soon as the jet arrives, it publishes to the arrivals channel. Hello, I'm flight UA001, and I'm going to be going to gate 43, and my baggage claim carousel is going to be number 4. So I publish that message out to my channel arrivals, and we have different consumers or subscribers subscribing to that channel that will take different pieces of information from there. So let's say the jet bridge, the little bridge that connects to the airplane when you walk on or off the airplane. Maybe that team needs to know, you're arriving. We need to get the jet bridge ready, and we need to drive it over to your door, your portal. So they need to know that information. So they will subscribe to what gate you're going to. That's kind of important. And let's say the fuel tanker to refuel the jet. So they want to know your location and that you actually arrived. So as soon as they see that you arrived and what gate you're going to, they're going to drive their tanker truck over to your jet and refuel you. So they're going to subscribe to that message, and they're going to look for your flight number. They'll do their own lookup of kind of what kind of airplane you are and what kind of capacity for fuel and stuff like that. They'll use that information to look up their own information on you. And then the baggage client, they want to know, we need to route these ramps to move your baggage to a specific baggage carousel. So we need to know where your location is to send our baggage handlers. And we need to display that information of your flight on the little, marquee above the carousel. So a lot of different teams need to know about one single event. That's the jet bridge team, the fuel tanker team, the baggage clients, the baggage team, and all sorts of different things. It also goes up on the screen while you're at the airport. It says, flight so-and-so has arrived. It'll even tell you where the baggage is. So a lot of different sources or a lot of different consumers will take that information and use it in different ways. And so that's a very common paradigm within application development and applications, and Redis has that, which is really, really cool. And I actually have a fun example to show you. Let me share my screen again. And this will be, there we go. Actually, you know what? Let me do this alternate. Ooh.
Nice.
There we go. So we made it a little bit bigger. So let me do a setup here. We're all in the Redis cloud. So let me have, let's say this team right here is the JetBridge team. So I'm going to, this is just, right, oh, you can't see my finger pointing at it. This is the JetBridge team. So subscribe. And then it says, what channel do I want to subscribe to? Well, I'm going to subscribe to arrivals. Now it says reading messages. And you'll notice that it doesn't give me the command line prompt again. So this is sitting there waiting for a message. It's subscribed to arrivals. And that's all we're getting. So now that was the JetBridge. Now let's say this is the fuel tanker team. We'll call again subscribe. Oops, arrivals. There we go. So this one's also waiting for arrivals to publish a message. And then we'll call this is going to be our baggage team. So they're handling the baggage going to the baggage carousel and showing what flight is at the carousel. So I'll also call subscribe. Subscribe arrivals. My E is off. There we go. Okay, so all three of these teams are subscribed, and this could be their own little applications within their department, within their office, and so there are three different applications running, subscribing to this channel. So now, down here, let's say this is the automated service from the jet that just arrived. So it's going to, instead of subscribe, it's going to publish arrivals. And it's going to say, hey, I'm going to insert this message. And the message will be the flight number, UA001. And then colon, because we still use colons within our messages. The second will be the gate. So the gate number will be 43. And let's say the third one will be the baggage claim that we want to send to. So it's going to publish this message of UA00143:4. Now, I kind of think this is a lot of fun, but watch these top three terminals that are subscribed to this channel, and watch what happens when I do that. I think it's so cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So we published a message here, and it went out to all three of these different clients that were subscribed to that channel. So this is the this is the JetBridge. They're like, oh, UA001 is going to 43. We need to go to gate 43 and make sure that JetBridge is open. And then this is the fuel tanker team. They're like, oh, UA001. I'll look up that in our database on our end and see what kind of plane that is. Figure out how much fuel they need, and then let's go to gate 43. And then this is our baggage team. They're like, oh, that flight came in, and we need to have handlers go to gate 43, and we'll send, we'll manipulate the belts to automatically send everything to carousel 4. So all three clients consume the data differently, but the publisher just sent out that message once. Now you'll notice here we have the number 3. That means that 3 different clients read the message and received the message. But the publisher doesn't get any further information from the clients. That's it. Because the publisher doesn't need to know. They don't need to know that so-and-so is looking this up, or if they could publish and subscribe to each other in like a kind of a crossways fashion, but again, that's not necessary to go over right here. The main thing to know is that one publisher published a message, and then 3 subscribers consumed that message that was published and did their own thing with it. And their own thing, this is again like 3 applications that can consume the same data in different ways. So that's PubSub. There's, you can go so much further with that. But the basic, that's the basic concept and the basic paradigm. And again, we have another really, really great write-up within Redis IO's section on PubSub, and it's, it's great to read. I know that, everybody says, read the manual or read the docs, but, in this case, you really have to know about it. If you're not comfortable with PubSub, you do have to do a bit of reading, and just make a couple terminal windows and play like this. Literally play until you really start understanding it. So that was PubSub. Do you have any questions on that topic?
No, but I can see why it's really useful, and you can relate it back to real life, because the example that you've used there is totally true, isn't it? If the plane comes in, they don't want to necessarily be like, right, because they don't have time. I live under the flight path of Heathrow Airport, right, in London, and there's a plane leaving every 90 seconds, and they're probably coming in like every 2 to 3 minutes as well. So they don't have time to be thinking, right, I need to send this piece to them, this piece of it. Like, I'm going to put all the information out there. You subscribe to the bits you want, and you do with it what you need to do. So yeah, I do like that. It makes things more efficient. You just make things available, and then people pick off the bits that they need and do what they need to do with them. You don't need to be concerned with what they're doing with the information, as long as you're comfortable that the information you're putting out is stuff that should be given to them. But that's a whole different issue, isn't it? What
Absolutely.
they do with it is up to them.
Yeah, and I just entered one message. These, this is an absolute deluge of messages you can go through, because Redis, of course, is super, super fast. So they need to publish super fast messages at large quantity. And yeah, I also noticed that Simon threw up the Redis streams. Redis streams is also a great data structure to explore. We have a whole course on it. But Redis streams is a really good alternative to PubSub, because you have tons of data. You can have subscribers, you can have a source, you can parse through that data at your own time after, so it doesn't have to be like constant real time. But that's a whole nother world of information. We have a great explainer on it. I'm in it, and I invite everybody to kind of check that out. Yeah, PubSub, it's really cool. Oh, one more thing, actually. This is what I'm working on personally. This is a Wio terminal. It is an Arduino with a built-in screen and some buttons. It's a little dirty. But I always have a problem when I'm working. I want to see what music is playing on my Spotify. And if I like it, I want to press a button to love it. Or if I don't like it, I want to press a button to dislike it so I don't have to hear it again. But I have a very messy desktop. I have tons of applications running. I have Slack. I have, I'm watching, somebody's stream on Redis. So I don't exactly have the real estate to go over to Spotify. So what I've actually done, and I will demonstrate this at a later time if there's a request for it, but I've created my own little app where I contact Spotify's API, and when the song changes, I publish a message, and this little Wio terminal subscribes to that message. So every time I get a new song, it will display on the screen, who's playing, and I'll say, oh, I like that. I'll click yes or no as far as whether I want to hear that again. And this is dedicated, so there's going to be no terminal on this. There's going to be no stream. There's going to be no pictures of cats. This is just dedicated to Spotify, because it has its own little, there's some circuitry going on in there. And I can set it to subscribe to a channel, which is really, really awesome. And that's the world of IoT, which hopefully Simon and I will be able to share with you later on. But yeah, PubSub is absolutely everywhere.
I love that. I love the fact that you've solved this problem that you can only really have in the year 2021.
Yeah.
Like you've got I don't know how many screens you've got in front of you, but you've probably got what, 2 or 3 screens in front of you, right? When you're working. And then just in that one example, you had 4 terminal windows on one screen, and you're playing your music that's streaming from somewhere. We don't even know where this music's coming from, wirelessly into your ears. And you're like, well, I don't even have space on my screen to tell this AI, whether or not I like this this thing. So I'm going to now have another screen next to me so I can tell it. I just love that whole thing. And I feel like Spot the Piranha Fish in 1989 did not know what was coming to planet Earth.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, I couldn't be bothered to, like, you know, have better discipline on my screen cleanliness. So I was like, I'll just add another window.
It's fun though, isn't it? It is fun. And I think even Simon definitely should do some IoT stuff with Redis, because like, we definitely don't see enough of that.
Right. You know, IoT is not something that's going to be going away. You know, the amount of sensors and it's data that we can stream from and subscribe from is just immeasurable. Well, hopefully we'll be able to measure it, but you know, a modern house with a Nest Cam, or the Nest thermostats, things like that, air quality sensors. I live in Oakland in the Bay Area in California, so that means I actually care a lot about air quality during the fire season. You know, and so I was subscribing to an API that was giving me air quality alerts around my area. So if I was going over a certain air quality index, I would close my windows and turn on my air filter. It's very unfortunate, but I'm really glad that that technology was there. And again, they didn't care who was listening to them. They were just giving that out to the world, and I was subscribing to it. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, well, that was PubSub, and we covered transactions, and we also did you know, a quick jump into hashes again. So we had quite a mixed bag today. That was really good.
Yeah. Definitely a mixed bag. I did wonder whether I was seeing things when I saw hashes appear back on the core stuff, but I was quite relieved. I was like, I feel comforted. I feel like I recognise this. It's all good. It's not completely new. So yeah, and that whole the whole thing about transactions and queuing things up, and you know, making sure that stuff doesn't change in the meantime, or checking to see whether it's changed in the meantime. These things are all really important when you're dealing with data, because accuracy is really key, especially since most business is done online these days, as well. And that whole PubSub thing is, we don't always need all the data all the time, so we definitely need some way of filtering it out and controlling who gets it and things like that. So yeah,
and you'll see a lot of this in actual action. If you decide to continue on to another course, RU102, that's a program or language specific course. We offer it in JavaScript, Python, or Java, and we'll see a lot more of these paradigms when you're like, you are actually a real web application that needs to use transactions and really think about the order of the commands that you're running. So we're playing with data structures, we're playing with these paradigms, but when you end up taking RU102, then you'll actually, you know, code them out with a programming language, which gives you so much more of a foundational knowledge. Because right now we're talking about, oh, if you use a client when you do this, such and such will happen. Well, you will actually start, you know, coding out on a client, which really rounds up your education. It rounds it out really well.
Yeah, and it just helps you to know how to apply it in your actual software creation activities, whether you're doing it as a hobby or doing it for a job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So, shall we do a bit of homework?
Yeah. Always fun.
Always fun. Right. So, what we've done this week is we have covered a bit of material from week 3 and week 4. So, we're going to look at homework for both weeks here. So, if you haven't yet done week 4's homework, then you get a little bit of a spoiler, but that's all good. So, let's move us to the side again. Shall I increase the width of this? Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Right. Good.
Yeah. So this is homework 3.1. So it's week 3, question 1, and it's about transactions. So examine the following block of commands. Multi, so opening the transaction, and then we want to set foo to hello, and we want to set bar to world, and then we want to execute. What's the reason to set foo and bar in this way? Pick one answer. Right. So I looked at these and I thought, right, okay, I don't think it is the third one. This ensures that errors in the set commands will be ignored. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's got anything to do with errors. It's not checking for errors. So we can discount that one.
Right.
So it's either the first or the second one. So the first one, this is the most efficient way to run 2 set commands. I'm not sure it's about efficiency per se.
Yeah, that one is a little like, just setting as a O of 1 command as far as they go. So it's as efficient as it gets. So that's not exactly. I don't. It's kind of apples and oranges the way to compare that. So I'm not good on that one.
No, but let's check the second one and just satisfy ourselves that that's probably the best fit. So this sets the 2 values atomically, meaning that the 2 set commands are executed in an indivisible fashion. Yes,
Yeah.
I feel like the wording of that is probably a little bit complex, but yeah, we're going to set those 2 values when we run that transaction.
Yeah.
Or like as a batch. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they either both work, or they both actually go through, or they don't at all. That's the promise of one of the promises of a transaction. So if one fails for some reason, they're like, all right, we're backing out. Never mind. So yeah, that one's good.
Yeah. It's all or nothing, isn't it? Let's do it. Use 0 of 2 attempts.
Nice.
Whoa. Mine hasn't updated. Oh, there we go. Mine was really slow for some reason. Good. Brilliant. Okay, so the next one then. Week 3, question 4. Does the discard command undo executed command in a transaction? So the discard, from memory, no, it doesn't undo anything. It just doesn't execute anything that's left over at the end, I think. But it doesn't undo anything that you've already executed. And I feel like I just said about the last answer was really bad, really like complexly worded, and I've just worded my own answer very badly there. But I think the answer is no, because I don't think it undoes anything.
Right. Yeah.
It just throws them away. Like, yeah, discards them.
We're not supposed to use the vocabulary word in the answer, but yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't like unexecute or roll back. Redis doesn't do that. It discards. So if we call discard in a multi command, it says, okay, you're just sort of backing off. Let's just get out of here and not even worry about it. So throws away queued up commands. Perfect.
Yeah, the commands in a transaction, the commands are not applied until the exec command is executed. So there were no commands to undo. Yeah, nothing starts until you type exec. Yeah, because you might want to add more things to your transaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, cool. So the next one, week 3, question 6. What would cause an exec command to fail? Pick one or more answers, right? So it could be one of them, 2 of them, or all 3 of them. So the queued command has a syntax error. Yes, because if you think about any type of software engineering, if you've got a syntax error, your command's going to fail. So why should this be any different, is my opinion. The second one, a watch key has been modified by another client or connection. Yes. Yeah, so this is mixing the 2 concepts together of transactions and watching that we covered earlier. Yeah. So we covered current transactions that weren't being watched, and then we covered transactions that were being watched. And yes, if something's being watched and it's been modified, your original transaction only wants to operate on it in the original state at which the transaction was set, right?
Very well put, yes.
Yeah, no, I did actually word that one quite well.
Yeah, that was great. That was
great. Yeah. So we're going to say 1 and 2 at least, and then so the third one could be true. It might not be. The queued command operates on the wrong data type.
Yeah, so this is a tricky one. The third one, it doesn't fail when you call execute. The queued command will attempt to operate whatever command you created, and if it's the wrong data type, it will still try to do it. So yeah, if there's a syntax error, the execution will fail. A watch key has been modified, the execution will fail, but the execution, once it starts, it's not going to check the data type. Both the top two are actually correct, but the bottom one, that's sort of like a silent fail, which is not good. So you have to be very mindful of what the data types you're operating on. But by the time you're doing, transactions with programmatically with watched keys and whatnot, you're going to know what data type you're working with.
Yeah. Right. So if a queue command operates on the wrong data type, for example, in executing an inc or on a list data type, then Redis skips this command but continues to execute the subsequent commands in the queue.
Yeah, that can be really can be nasty.
It could be, especially if you're kind of thinking you've created some dependencies there in your own brain within that transaction, right. which it probably isn't the right thing to do, but you might have done, because we're all human, aren't we? You might have thought, I'm going to be really efficient and bung all these things in because they all work together. But things could go quite wrong there, couldn't they?
Definitely. So it's very important that you're mindful of what you're actually doing within the transactions for errors like this. Skipping is almost worse than calling out an actual error. Yeah,
it's probably best, like, for just any type of software engineering, break down the problem and think carefully about what you're putting inside that transaction as well, just in case you've got any errors of that kind that are silent errors. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go on to week 4 homework, but shall we show folks the progress tab?
Yeah.
Because I think we forgot to do this the past few weeks. So it will show you my progress so far. And like we said in like week 0 and week 1, you need to get 65% correct across all the homeworks and the final exams. So as you can see, because I've done homework 1, and luckily I've got over 65% for that. Homework 2, done quite well on that. Homework 3, got 50%. Yes, actually, yes, I will refresh. But this was before we just did those last questions. And then homework 4 just above that. So and then if you scroll down here, then you can see your breakdown of your quizzes and stuff like that. So let me refresh this. This is when it tells me to log back in again, isn't it? There we go. Yeah, there we go. Right, so done all right in homeworks 2 and 3. Not so well in week 1, and homework 4 we're going to go on to, but my average is good. I've got a passing average, so that is good. And the reason why it's so low here is because the exams count for quite a lot, and I haven't done any of those yet, and also haven't attempted any of week 5. So that's just to give you a little taster of how you can measure your progress, and you can see whether or not you're on target to getting the 65% for the certificate. So let's have a look at week 4's homework. And we're going to, sorry.
Oh, sorry. You'll see on the left here under week 4, a lot of it is under bit data. So you'll see we'll be working with Alvin as far as like manipulating bits with bitmaps and bit fields. We decided not to cover that today because it doesn't really make for very entertaining streams. So that's going to be, on you to kind of check out with Alvin. Also, we have a really great bitmap video that was a lot of fun to see. So check out one of our Redis explainers on bitmaps. It was probably one of my favorite to do. We really focused on pub sub for today's stream. So that's what, hopefully we'll cover today for the homework.
Yeah, no, I really love that video. It did make me laugh a lot. Yeah, I won't give any spoilers, but you really kind of got into the atmosphere of what you were trying to convey, and it felt like we were there with you. And if you're there without a map, that could be quite scary.
Definitely.
But yeah, so like we said at the top, and like we said, you know, when we started this series of streams is very much like a supplement. It's supposed to be like a fun supplement, just to play along with the course material. So for that reason, like Justin said, we have chosen the bits that we thought would make good TV, and the bit data stuff, unfortunately, doesn't really lend itself to the streams. And there were much better things that we could demonstrate to you live here on Twitch and on YouTube. So we've cherry picked those bits out that we thought would be the most engaging for the streams. But yeah, if you want to get the certificate, please do go through all of the videos and do all the quizzes just to check your knowledge, and make sure you do all the homework to give yourself the best chance of getting that certificate. So as you can see here, there's 4 questions for week 4. I've already done those first 4, so we won't go through those. But we've got questions 5 and 6 for week 4. So, does Redis publish, subscribe, or pub sub guarantee delivery of messages to clients even if the client is not currently connected? Now, I seem to remember there was a piece in this in the materials that said there are no guarantees. So, but I could be thinking of transactions, come to think of it. But it does ring a bell, that, because if you can't remember what it said in the materials, think of a use case. So if we think about using pub sub for, say, for example, you join a webinar and there's a live chat, and you join the webinar 15 minutes late because Bird was crying, you missed out on your Bjork tickets, and the whole world's going to pop. But you still want to join this webinar because, you know, there's some hot tips on how to get tickets next time and quiet down the cat. But you join 15 minutes late because of all the aforementioned disasters. You are not necessarily going to see all of the chat that has already occurred in those first 15 minutes before you join the webinar, because at that point you were not a member of the webinar, you weren't connected. So that's my thinking, that's my logic that I'm going to apply to this situation. So I'm going to say no, because if you're not connected, why would it send you the message? That is my logic, and you know, I don't mind if I get that wrong. But Justin, I like that. What do you think?
I really like that. Yeah, that's a really great analogy. Kind of like with radio, you know, you're listening, you turn on to the radio station, you hear a song, like, oh, well, I want to go back to the beginning. And they're like, no. Airwaves, they go from the station to you, so you just don't get to listen to it. When people like YouTube premieres, oh, let's get really meta. Welcome to the YouTube premiere of this video. It's a stream, so they can go to the beginning of the video and they can go up to like the current point while it's premiering, but they, that's a stream, that's a different data type. But with like a pub sub, yeah, it's like a radio broadcast. Once it's gone, it's gone. So
yeah, actually, you know what? I really used to love, we're digressing a lot here, but I really used to love radio, and I really wanted to be a radio presenter when I was young. And actually, radio, I still love radio, and I think that's one of the reasons. Like, it's always live, isn't it? You can't guarantee that for television anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, once it's gone, it's gone. And there's something quite nice about that. I don't know why. It's a bit counterintuitive, but it's like, right, you had to be there. I think that's what it is. You had to be there. So yeah, pub sub, yeah, you've got to be there, basically.
Absolutely.
And the things where people say you had to be there are always the best things in life, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
So let's say pub sub is one of the best things in life. The answer is no.
You had to be there.
You had to be there. There you go. If you snooze, you lose, basically. Why is this so slow? Oh, fire and forget. That's a new way of putting it. Only currently subscribed and connected clients will receive a message. So yeah, if you don't have your radio on, you're out of luck, basically. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's
to be there.
Great little tidbit of information down there. Yeah, so streams are durable, so you can replay all the information broadcasted out. With PubSub, it's not. So PubSub is radio station, and streams is YouTube basically. So you can look through history and things like that.
Yeah. Good tip. Definitely a good tip. Unfortunately, we don't cover streams in this course because it's a little bit too advanced, but there's loads of information online about streams should you want to learn about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the final question we're going to do today is question 6 of week 4. What command is used to find out the number of subscribers to non-patterned channels? Right. So, and we can only pick one answer. And I'm just trying to think now about what a non-patterned channel is. So a patterned channel, I think, is where you can select. So the publisher is sending a bunch of messages and you're subscribed, but you don't have to take all of the messages. You can create a pattern and be selective. Is that right?
Oh, this is digging into my my ancient knowledge as well. Let me check real quick.
That's what I think it is. Because patterned, wasn't that P subscribed? Yeah.
Well, let me look into the actual command reference. This is in Redis.io. Returns the number of unique patterns that are subscribed to by clients. Note that this is not the count of clients subscribed to patterns, but the total number of unique patterns all the clients are subscribed to.
And which command was that again?
That was pub/sub numpat.
Right, so that's the number of patterns. Yeah, sometimes you can get a clue from the command.
Yeah.
So pub/sub channels, that will probably give you a list of channels.
Yeah, exactly. So
and yeah,
these were well designed. So the channels list the currently active channels.
Right.
So
pub/sub channels is the list of currently active channels. Pub/sub numpat is the list of patterns. No, sorry, the number of patterns.
Yeah.
And pub/sub numsub, like try saying that fast after you've been to the pub and had a sub.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be the number of subscribers.
Right. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it doesn't specify non-patterned, but it's the only one that seems to fit with like the number of subscribers. So let's try that one. Bingo.
Nice.
There you go. Excluding the pattern subscriptions, pub/sub channels returns all the current active channels, i.e. where an active subscriber exists. Pub/sub numpat returns the number of subscribers for pattern subscriptions only.
Cool.
But like we said, at the very top of this whole series, there might be a couple of sort of gotcha questions, but most of them are like this, so you can go and look them up. This is totally open book, even the homework and the exam. So don't worry if you can't remember. Just go back and think, right, I think that even if you can't remember this, you should be able to remember which topic it was, even if you can't remember the actual command. So just go back and look through the weeks and think, right, okay, this was to do with pub/sub. Let's have a quick look. And if you don't have time to look at the video, just scroll through the transcript, and then that's probably going to get your juices flowing again and think, okay, yeah, I remember this. No, it was after that. Yeah, you'll probably kind of quickly refamiliarize yourself with where you heard that thing, is my advice. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I use pub/sub channels a lot, but I don't exactly use numpat a lot. So as long as you know the reference material to go to, you're golden.
Yeah. And in that regard, it's exactly like, if you're a web developer, it's exactly like going and looking up for the commands that you need to write JavaScript, isn't it? Nobody's expecting you to remember all of this stuff. You think, right, this is what I want to achieve with that. I think it's to do with like loops or conditionals or something like that. Right, I'm going to go and read about conditionals and find out which one I need. So, yes, cool. So that is all the homework for this week.
Nice.
I'm going to unshare my screen now. And I think it just remains to give folks a little reminder of what's coming next and what to do and all of that good stuff. So for those of you who were enrolled with me, and I did remind you every week, so if you're not enrolled, I'm actually quite disappointed. I did remind you every week that enrollments were closing Tuesday just gone. So you cannot currently enroll on this current cohort that I am on, but what you can do is you can enroll on the next one. So don't worry, you can always enroll on RU101. It's just a case of which week it starts and finishes and which week is your deadline for doing all of the assessments. So the current run of the course that I am on now finishes on the 11th of November. So that's the final date by which I have to complete all the homework and all of the exams. Actually, if I only complete some of them, but I still got over 65%, would I still get the certificate, or do I have to attempt everything?
You don't have to attempt everything. So as long as you have 65%, you should be good. But, you know, it's always good to pad a bit of a safety zone.
We shouldn't be going by the skin of our teeth.
Yes.
That's something Spot the piranha would say. He likes skin on his teeth. But we don't advise you to do the skin of your teeth method. But like I showed you, you can see what your overall for the whole course is at the moment. I think mine was 34% because I haven't done any exams. But yeah, make sure you attempt everything and give it your best shot. Like Justin says, you want to have a bit of a buffer because there might be some questions lurking in the exam that you weren't expecting, or, you know, I personally have found that some of these topics went in straight away with me, and other ones I'm definitely going to have to go over again. So you're going to have strong points and not so strong points in this. So yeah, definitely attempt it all. But the last date, if you are taking this course along with me, that you can do all of those things and submit them, is the 11th of November. But don't worry, if you have just started the following cohort, then you've got another 6 weeks to do that. So yeah, please do check out our previous videos on this because they all apply to you as well. It's just that I won't be doing it along with you, but you know, we can have a little chat in Discord if you like, because I'm a little bit further ahead than you are, and Justin will be in there too, and so will Simon. So yeah, please do that, and we can all be in this together. So yeah, Simon will put up the link for Discord in a second, but please do join us on there, whichever course you're on. There are channels for RU101, and Justin mentioned that we've got language-specific courses as well. Each one of those have got their own channel. We've also got one for, I think it's JSON and search and security. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah,
the courses.
We have lots of different courses. We have security, we have querying, searching full text, and indexing. Lots of different offerings. And running Redis at scale, too. So if you really like to see me ramble, there's a whole course on how to make Redis big and multiple and very fast and very durable. So it's also a great class.
And we've had a bit of a taster of that with the whole like pub sub and the whole dangerous commands thing. So yeah, I think people are definitely starting to understand that, you know, this is quite serious stuff. So if you want to get a bit deeper into that, do that course. But yeah, each course on that we offer has got its dedicated Discord channel, so you can meet other people that are also doing those courses, and also chat to the instructors if you've got any questions, or, you know, just to tell them how great they are. A lot of people actually do that. So yeah, they are such good teachers. They do get a lot of praise in there, so which is really nice to see. So yeah, that's Discord. And Hacktoberfest, I think I've mentioned that on this stream before, but that is my other big project that I'm doing this October. So that is nearly over, but we still do have some issues that are up for grabs. So if you go to developer.redis.com/Hacktoberfest, you'll be able to read about all the things that we're offering, and also have a look at some of the PRs that people have already submitted. So yeah, that's gone really well, and I'm really pleased to see that people have engaged with it. So it's been really nice, because some of the folks that have contributed don't use Redis every day, and some of them hadn't used Redis at all before. And I think it's a testament to our documentation and the way we've explained things, that people have been able to pick it up and run with it. So I've been really pleased to see that. So yeah, this I think is week 3 with me and Justin, but we started week 0 because we are programmers, of course. So this is actually the 4th week that we have been doing it. You'll be able to find all of the recordings of the previous streams on our YouTube channel, and we will download the recording of this today and we will upload that to YouTube as well. So if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you will get a notification when we upload this video to YouTube. And what we normally do is we do a premiere, so you can have a live watch party with all your friends, get a reminder of that. And then we will also be there as well. So if you think of any questions later, you can type them in the chat and we'll be there on the premiere. So next week is going to be the final week of these streams. It's gone really fast. I can't believe it.
It's gone by very, very fast.
I know, when we were planning this, it doesn't feel like very long ago that we were planning out how we were going to do this and like picking all the topics, does it?
We should watch back on our week 0 video and see how like, oh, hello, welcome to Redis. We're going to be talking about RU101.
It's like, which buttons do I press? Like, I don't know. Yeah, and that, yeah, I'm sure it'll be really funny to look back on that week 0 one. But yeah, so next week is going to be the final week. So Justin, tell us what we're going to be looking at next week.
Yeah, so a really, really fun data structure, geospatial. So storing coordinates, latitude and longitudinal coordinates in a data structure, and being able to extrapolate information like distances between 2 points, what points are within 5 miles of my current location, all sorts of really, really cool stuff. And we're going to have a little bit of a crash course in geolocational physics, but it's going to be totally fun and fine. We'll have some real world examples. Alvin does a great job of covering the Tokyo Olympics. So definitely make sure to watch that in conjunction with this. Also, we have a geospatial explainer where I get lost in Yosemite and I need to find my way out. I need to find out what attractions are near me. So, yeah, it's a fun data type. I like it a lot. So come to the next stream with a couple locations that you love, and if we can make it interactive, that'd be great. We can add them to the stream of different coordinates and stuff like that. So
that would be so cool, because I forgot to do it today, but I always ask where you're all dialing in from, and then people tell you. So that would be very cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then we can sort of like create like a larger geospatial data structure that we can share and publish out. So
yeah, and I know Simon's niece was watching, so hi Flo, you're watching this video again.
Hi,
she is 6 years old, and she was really amazed that I'm in London and you're in California. We managed to make a video together. So she watched last week's video. She watched an hour of last week's video. So these Redis fans are getting younger and younger. But yeah, I think it would be very cool to add a few people onto our map next week. So yeah, please tune in next week and we can add you to that. So yeah, I think that's everything for this week, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a nice short one.
Yeah, cool. So thanks so much, Justin, for teaching me again. You have got the patience of a saint.
My pleasure.
No, it's been really cool working with you on this. So so have a great week, everybody, and we will see you again next Thursday. See you then.
See ya.
Bye.